Welcome, everybody, to the award-winning RotoWire Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by us, RotoWire.com/pod, for a free look behind our paywall. We have tons of tools, DFS tools. You should also go to the Android or the Apple Store and download the RotoWire Picks and Props app. Million things, not just basketball, football, baseball. We have it all. Free trial.
Hockey.
What can go wrong? Hockey. What can go wrong? Free trial.
Pick'em picks.
Yes. It is Friday, January 31st, 2025. Alex Barutha here with Ken K-Train Kreitz.
All aboard!
We're missing Shannon McEwen today as he is, I believe, enjoying just a nice vacation.
I think so.
Yeah. Memphis last night squeaked by Houston, 120-119 in Memphis. Grizzlies without Ja Morant again. It really feels like every other day he's just out.
Yeah.
Rockets didn't have Şengün. Desmond Bane had 24, 12, and 6. Amen Thompson, still hot, 21, 7, and 4 with 4 blocks. Hit the over on my over 1.5 blocks for Amen Thompson.
Well played.
Prop that I liked.
Yeah.
Ken, of these two teams, these kind of young up-and-coming teams, who do you think is a greater threat to Oklahoma City in the West?
They certainly both are, but I'm going to go Houston because I think they're a hair deeper, especially if Jabari Smith comes back. My theory is Smith comes back, but they start Eason. They let, the old guys that they've had filling in for Eason. Isn't Green still filling in for every now and then? He didn't play.
Green sees
Jeff
some
Green
here and there.
Yeah. But they have Eason start. Well, we'll see. Maybe they stick with Amen, but when Smith comes back, I think they're a deeper squad. And maybe I'm not giving Brandon Clark enough credit for Memphis, but I just like their depth more. And frankly, as you pointed out, Morant, what's the over-under on how healthy Morant will be for their playoff run? He's generally broken down by the time the playoffs come. So I guess I foresee Rockets Thunder in the finals, but where do you stand?
Yeah, the most games Morant has played in a row this season is 5.
Yeah, that worries me.
Who do I see? I think that the interesting thing is the numbers actually, like net rating, strength of schedule, whatever advanced numbers you want to use, actually have the Grizzlies as marginally, and I mean marginally better than Houston. And I think what's interesting about that is Memphis has been so hurt all season that it makes you wonder, like, when they actually are healthy, is their ceiling higher despite having less talent? Like, are they just a better put together team? But I like the Rockets more. I agree with you. I'm definitely
as Shannon likes to say, I'm probably caught in the moment of this hot Amen Thomas streak.
No, I think he's actually really good.
I think Rise is legit. Yeah, the pedigree's there, obviously. I don't know why his brother's not playing better in Detroit, but Amen. Does it go by Amen or Amen? I don't know which.
I think it's Amen.
Okay.
The thing is, and we have the trade deadline coming up, which we'll talk about more later in the show. But I think Houston has more moves to make because they have this depth of guys like Cam Whitmore, who's not playing, and then
griping about it. He's been a little crabby in some post game interviews too, where I'd be if I was email, I was like, "Get out! We're winning, and you're bitching. Get out."
Well, not only that, I mean, the De'Aaron Fox trade rumors. If the Kings come to you and they're like, I don't know, Cam Whitmore and Jabari Smith and a pick for De'Aaron Fox, I'd be like, yeah, probably. So that's an option too.
And let me back up. If I was Ime first, I'd date his girlfriend. Then I'd tell him to get out. Hey-o.
As always, apologies to we have a sponsor this week, which we'll get to later. Apologies.
They're
to them.
fine with it. They're fine.
Ken, let's talk about your favorite team, the Los Angeles Lakers.
Well, more I want to talk about their opponent. The Lakers destroyed the Wizards in Washington, 134-96. Alex, as you knew, I grew up a Bullets fan. The old Wes Unseld, Elvin Hayes days. Anyway, this news nugget is really about how terrible Washington is. Washington let the Lakers shoot 54% from the field. That's terrible defense. But even worse, at home, Washington shot 32% in this game. 32% for the field. And their starters were even worse. The Wizards starters shot 13 of 51 at their arena. That's a hair under 26%. Just atrocious. My goodness, Washington. They're just racing to the lottery. They're just like, can we just do the lottery tomorrow?
I felt like they have been piling up some bad losses lately, but it's Washington. So you're like, I don't know. Am I just noticing it for some reason? No. Over the past 2 weeks, Ken, their point differential on average, their average game, they lose by 22 points. Minus 21.8 point differential over the past 2 weeks.
Making their season long minus 15 point differential worse.
Yes.
Terrible. I will mention the Lakers. They're only a half game behind Denver for 4th in the West, but they're also only 1 game ahead of the play-in. I think they've won 7 of the last 10, so the Lakers are playing well. But, I wish we could all play Washington every night. That would be a dream scenario.
No kidding.
But Alex, take us to Cleveland.
Yeah, Cleveland got the win last night. Beat Atlanta 137-115 in Cleveland. Ty Jerome, another nice game, 20 points for Cleveland off the bench. Now has 7 games with 20-plus points. Only 2 of those were starts. It is hard to predict when he will go off, but Darius Garland got rest the other night. And I think we'll talk a little bit more about Jerome later, so I don't want to step on your toes too much. But the last 11 for Ty Jerome, 15.5 points, 3 assists, 1.8 triples, 59% from the field. We'll also talk about the Hawks in a bit. I mean, both of these teams have kind of stuff going on. Cleveland more so like they might start resting guys, and Atlanta more so that they lost Jalen Johnson for the season.
And Jerome's good game last night. In other cases, he blew up when one of those guys was resting, either Mitchell or Garland. But Garland played 30 minutes, Mitchell 27. Jerome was 9 of 11. That's not going to happen every night. But Ty Jerome's legit. And you're right. I think they're going to start resting, especially if they can cruise into first place in the East if Boston doesn't get their act together.
I mean, you say it's not going to happen every night, but over the past 3 seasons, he is a 51% field goal shooter.
Yeah.
But
very small sample size in those prior seasons, though. His games played were tiny, right? So, but we'll see. Hey, maybe I'm sure he'd love to go 9 for 11 every night if possible. But anyway, Ty Jerome, I know McKechnie just wrote about him on our NBA.com contract. Quality and wildly unexpected quality bench minutes for the Cavaliers.
It is nice when, I know the most improved player award gets a lot of attention because it never actually goes to players that people think really improved. It always goes there. It would be nice. It would be easy for us to say, let's just turn the award into this. Although it's interesting to me that the NBA added clutch player and whatever awards, but they didn't just do a second most improved player award for
most improved player you've never heard of.
Award. Yeah, exactly. Yes, most anonymous improved player. Ty Jerome. I don't know. They're they should do that.
Tari Eason, maybe.
Tari could have been there.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go to our fan feedback because we got a lot of questions. P-Dub once again with the first one. Oh, actually, no. Sorry, P-Dub. We have to start because this came in days earlier. Longtime fan Ramesh. Alex, give Ramesh a wave.
Yes.
Ramesh, hello.
Ramesh.
Ramesh in India emailed us a question and kind of a comment. Quote, don't look now, but Josh Hart is the 8th most valuable player in 9 category total stats. You can already give him this season's fantasy MVP award. I've always liked Hart, but Ramesh's email did make me reminding me to look him up. I have him in my RotoWire Keeper League. I've got Hart ranking 14th in full season stats, 9 category league. Still pretty darn good and well above his ADP. He's averaging a double-double, 14 points, 10 boards, and a career high 5.7 dimes a game. He's also shooting a career best, almost 56% from the field, and a career best over 81% from the free throw line. Clearly, all those minutes Tibbs has given him is helping his game, not hurting. Any other thoughts on Josh Hart, Alex?
I think he actually would have been drafted higher, but if you remember, he shot 17% from the field in preseason. So people
Yeah.
were I mean, people were freaking out. He took 6 shots in 4 games in 90 minutes and went 1 for 6. So I think people were like, "Whoa, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, like we can't draft this guy." But no, he's been absolutely amazing.
But clearly a Tibbs favorite.
Oh yeah. Oh,
And
yeah.
does he even? I mean, for all I know, he lives at Tibbs' place. That's how well they seem to get along. Or
He
there's
might.
some Villanova fraternity all those guys are living at. Yeah. Anyway, Josh Hart, heck of a season, and always great to hear from Ramesh. If anybody else wants to email me, ken@rotowire.com. Hello, Ramesh. All right. P-Dub is first in line on the live show and asks, good morning, guys. Any insights on Bogey not being with the team? Could a potential move be made? And if so, is he stash worthy?
Yeah, I mean, I think the combination of him being out with a personal absence and the trade rumors swirling and him not playing that well and
being old.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything beyond that, so it could be innocuous, but yeah, I think
we're talking about the Hawks Bogdanovich, by the way.
Yes, the Hawks Bogdanovich. Is he worth a stash? I don't know. I don't think he's
it's going to be for bench strength somewhere, right? So already you're talking maybe 14-teamer to care, right?
Right. Like in theory, the Hawks wanted him to play 30 minutes a game, but he just wasn't playing that well. He's average, shooting 37% from the field, 10 points a game. So
years old. Yeah.
I think there's a situation he could land in where he becomes more efficient. There's less pressure on him, but the chances of him being like a top 100 player after the trade deadline, I think is pretty slim.
And he's already playing when he does play for Atlanta this year. He's already playing 25 minutes a game. So I don't see a scenario he gets dealt to where he gets more than 25 a game. That seems shocking. So I'm going to say no on that stash. But let's see. Other fan James Chan also keeping in Atlanta is Arisha worthy to pick up. He had a heck of a game last night, but looks pretty bad otherwise. Any thoughts on first pick Arisha?
He definitely looked good last night and has been bad otherwise. I think it is worth noting. Like it tells you where he's at as a player when he has 30 points and people are just kind of like, meh, meh.
Look at the rest of his line that night too. 1 rebound. 25 minutes, he got 1 rebound.
Yeah, and I think it's Jalen Johnson had been out for a while. Jalen Johnson being out is not like new information. This recent information, yes, that he tore his labrum, but he had been out with the shoulder inflammation before. And if you want to go all the way back to like December 2nd, he's averaging 10 points a game, in 22. The minutes could go up, but he is a long-term prospect, and I think he has great basketball IQ, and he knows how to play. But right now, he's just not a usage guy.
I think your time's better spent trying to trade for DeAndre Hunter if you want to act on this Jalen Johnson injury news. All right. Evelyn Gutierrez with a question. Krejci or Kamara? Those are 2 Alex Barutha favorites. So I'm going to let you run with that one.
This is fantasy basketball in a nutshell right here. Vit Krejci or Toumani Camara.
You're saying the TNT crew isn't discussing? These guys are both on the Charles Barkley "Who do they play for?" quiz at the beginning of the season.
Oh man,
doesn't know who they are.
That lineup that Charlotte put out the other night, that was like Vasilije Micic, Nick Smith,
Okogie probably,
Diabate, Okogie, and someone else was like, the Who he play for All-Stars. I'm gonna go with Kamara here. I haven't checked his roster rate lately, but he is a better player than Krejci. I'll talk about Krejci later.
Yeah.
But Kamara, again, with the Blazers
and starting where Krejci last night even came off the bench.
Yeah. Krejci has more scoring upside, barely. I like
more
Kamara.
stocks upside. Should we say that?
No.
No?
No. Then Kamara's like 2 stocks a game.
No, I meant Kamara. Sorry.
Kamara, yes.
Yeah. Oh, you said Krejci has more points. I got to pay more attention.
Yeah.
I thought you said Kamara.
No, you're reading comments. I know you're
All right. Well, anyway, Kamara. The lean is to Kamara. It's time, by the way, Mr. Fire Nuts has a question. Thank you for the Mr. update per last week's episode. What is with Ja? Oh, I can't say it, read all that. But we just covered that in the news. As you said, what was that stat? It's worth repeating. I'm going to remove this because that's somewhat inappropriate. What was that stat you said about most games in a row Ja's played this year?
5. I just went through his game logs, and it's mostly like 4s, 3s and 4s.
Yeah.
How
much is that going to grind you fantasy playoff time too when he's like out and you're like,
oh, yeah, well, and Mr. Fire Nuts is in a weekly lock league, and we talk about this with injury prone guys. Now, I don't blame you for drafting Ja because the hope was like he can come back and be healthy-ish. Right. But it's tough when you got to start somebody on a Monday, and it's like, are they going to be healthy on Wednesday? Or are they going to be healthy on Thursday? Exactly. I wish I had a good answer for you.
Kawhi Leonard conundrum right there. Yeah.
I mean, he's 6'2", 170, and he's flying through the air like he just does not care about his body at all. And he's getting hit, and it's shoulders, it's knees, it's wrist. He may not be an especially healthy player for most of his career.
I concur. Let's go to Alp Bugra. Oh, I'm butchering that guy's name. Sorry, Alp. Let's just say Alp. How do you feel about Zach Edey, a 12-teamer?
This is tough because Edey will have those games. Edey totally falls into the category of guys where when you drop him, he has 13, 11, and 3 with 2 blocks. And then you pick him up, and then he has 5 and 2.
Yeah.
So it's not quite like Harrison Barnes level of like you drop him and then he's hot, and then you pick him up and he's bad. I don't think you have to hold him. That's the short answer. It's just he can't. The Grizzlies rotation, the Grizzlies big man rotation, they're more than comfortable. Some matchups he's in a lot, some matchups he's not.
Right. They are matchup specific on the minutes for Edey, which makes sense because he's an odd old school center, right? That you just don't want against some teams. I'm going to take this next one if you don't mind.
Go for it,
Alex. It's from Kobe. Thoughts on Daniel Gafford rest of season? What's his current trade value? And I'm taking this because in my grad school league, I cut Gafford about 2 days before the Lively injury news came out. And I desperately needed centers. I was taking flyers on Jalen Williams in Oklahoma City. I was desperate for centers. Lively was eating all of Gafford's minutes. Then, of course, Lively gets hurt. And Gafford has been fantastic. Like 5-6 blocks a night. Fantastic. Shooting 60-70% from the field. Fantastic. Games of his life. Hold on to him. He's not going to – the trade value will never equal what he's going to do. Lively's out for quite a while. Blocks are always hard to get. And my friend who picked him up in that league, like every box score for the Mavs, sends me a text to laugh at me for my Gafford guffaw, if you will. Hold on to Daniel Gafford. He's a gem. He's going to be awesome. Is he going to, shoot 80% every night? No, but he's a lock double-double, 3-4 blocks a
night. I agree with everything you said.
Thank you. Sean with a question. No, I don't quite get that. We're not doing that one. Sorry, that question doesn't make sense. Do you think I should? Oh, here from Kel. Should I hold on to Brandon Ingram? What the heck's going on there?
Oh, man. As someone who is rostering Brandon Ingram in multiple leagues and in draft season told everybody he's always hurt and
you did it.
Don't draft him unless you're getting a discount. It is still annoying that I got him at a discount and now he's in my IR. Yeah, I think you hold on to him. I will say it is concerning that our last update on him at RotoWire, January 23rd, not been cleared for contact.
Yeah.
He sprained his ankle in early December.
Killing his trade value. Just killing the Pels.
What happened?
Because if you're the Pels and who's made it clear they want to deal him, right? Like they were saying that in the offseason when they couldn't agree on a contract. They would so love to showcase him now to prop his value up. And instead they can't. This isn't a case, I think, of keeping him healthy. This is a case of he is not healthy because they'd be dying to showcase him.
Yeah, my gut feeling on this is like I'm gonna hang on to him because he'll probably be back after the All-Star break, but if he comes back and plays like 5 games in a row and plays well, I would try to dump him immediately. I would try to trade him so fast because the Pelicans are 12-36.
And they're going to
Like,
let him walk in the offseason. They're not keeping him.
yeah.
They could keep him if there's no market for him. We'll see. Like low ball him, and then that's the only thing. We'll see. I don't know. All right. Any more questions here you see you want to get into?
We get a lot of good questions every week. It's up to you whether you want to cover the time.
Let's go here. Koulibaly, Bilal Koulibaly, a drop, right? We wrote about him on NBA.com as breaking out early in the season, and he's kind of reverted back to his helter-skelter, good game, 2 bad games pattern.
Yeah. He has the most bizarre, like his problem is that he's not a consistently efficient scorer, and he's not a consistently, like, he doesn't take a consistent volume of shots.
Right.
So it's like sometimes he'll go like 1 for 8, and then other times he'll go like 6 for 14, and you're like, what?
You want to fall in love with the stocks, but it's hard to do when he's shooting 41% from the field.
But I would have to say, Ken, and with the trade deadline coming up, if you held him this long, I would not drop him now.
The fear, the Wizards are so bad. He's already getting like max opportunity. Does moving Kuzma get Koulibaly more? More shots? Maybe. Valanciunas? I don't know.
That's a good point.
Who's holding him back now, I guess is the question.
Who's holding him back now? Kispert, Kuzma, and maybe Poole. Because what are they going to do with Poole? That is one of my more.
What winner wants Poole?
I'm not saying do they want him. I'm saying do they bench him? Like, does he have the back injury?
Yeah. The back
and
injury.
then he's resting. Yeah.
Got it. All right. We'll end one more question from B Baller. Would you trade away Morant for Josh Giddey? As we've pointed out, he's Morant having health issues.
That is interesting, actually. I was not expecting. This is a very unexpected question. I think if you're in a points league, so for points league people, Giddey 32 fantasy points per game, and I think that's pretty legit. And then Morant's at 37.
The poor free throw shooting doesn't hurt you from Giddey in a points league. Yeah.
Morant's at 37, and I mean, if you're worried about Morant's health and Giddey,
Zach LaVine's out the door, right?
Zach LaVine might be out the door. If I am the Morant, if I have Morant on my roster, it would be really hard. If someone came to me like, I'll give you Josh Giddey for him, I'd be like, oh, this is tough, which I think is why you're asking this question.
Yeah.
Personally, I think I would rather hold Morant, but I don't think that's as much of a losing trade as a lot of people would tell you that it is.
I think I'd make that deal, to be honest. It's purely on just the agonizing donuts you wind up eating for those games he misses. The average is great for Morant when he plays, and it's just going to drive you nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and honestly, maybe you can get Giddey and something in that deal with Morant's large name,
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. All right. Let's, I got to turn that question off. Okay. Let's go. That's it for fan feedback. So let's get to the heart of the matter. Alex, start us off with the waiver wire.
The waiver wire. Interesting week. Houston with 5 games, 11 teams with 3 games, and that'll do it. So busy week in the association. Say bye to your friends and family, lock in, take advantage of some like 2-for-1 pizza deals or something. I'm going to start things off with Vit Krejci, 22% roster in Yahoo leagues. Not the best night. We put a guy on the thumbnail of the YouTube before the video the night before, and we're like, Vit Krejci, and then he plays like he put up 6 points last night and had 1 rebound. He got into foul trouble. I mean, he fouled out, and there was like 4 minutes of garbage time in this game. By the technical definition of garbage time, there were 4 minutes. But still, Krejci, even with this bad game, over the past 8 games, is still ranked about 120th in 8-cat. 10 points, 2.4 threes, 2.5 rebounds, 3.3 assists, 1.9 stocks for 23 fantasy points. Technically, his best quality is his three-point shooting. So he's mostly a category guy, but he's decently well-rounded, you know. You also have to, like, we talked about Risa Shea earlier. Yeah, he had 30 points.
That ain't
When have we been able to trust that at any point this season? We can't. Plus, the Hawks have 4 games this week. And if you're in a daily league, they play again on the next Monday. So from this upcoming Monday through the next Monday, you can actually get 5 games out of Krejci. So that helps if you are a little bit worried about the recent performance, which I'm not too worried about that.
Odd that he had 0 dimes last night, because last handful of games, he's had a 6-assist game, a 7-assist game. He had 3 6-assist games in a row in mid-January. A bit of a dud right after we put him on the cover of the video. Usually we're like, hey, look at us, smart guys, put that guy on the cover. Way to go. All right, I'm going to go to Houston because I cannot resist the 5 games the Rockets are playing. And I'm going to go with hot shooting Dillon Brooks, who's rostered on only 24% of Yahoo teams. Look, first, I'm assuming Tari Eason isn't available. Go ahead and check for Tari Eason. But if not, take advantage of Houston's 5 games next week with Dillon Brooks, which also includes a game against the Nets and a game against the Raptors. Brooks is on a bit of a heater. Last 8 games, almost 16 points, almost 3 triples, and 47% from the field. Yes, 47% is hot for Brooks. And he's always possible to have a big steals night because he does play aggressive defense. He's only missed 3 games all season. So I think he's going to play in all 5 of these, Alex. And with the Sengun calf injury, we don't really know how bad that is. And if it's bad, that's going to be a lot of shots for Brooks this week. I would think even if Sengun's calf is just a day-to-day thing, they're going to give him some rest in this 5-game spread.
That's a good point about Sengun. I mean, anytime there's a 5-game week, anybody in fantasy on that team that's like a top 200 player, fire him up. You don't even have to like think about it. It's just a volume of stats thing. Like you're talking about Brooks, 5-game week. I mean, he could easily get you 60 actual points. You know what I mean? He could get you 20 rebounds. So yeah, fire him up. He's been 16 team leagues. You've needed to roster him so he can be a volume guy on a 5-game week.
Now, Alex, take us to the mess in Charlotte for your next projection.
I don't even know if I have to like do a spiel on this guy. It's Vasilije Micic of the Charlotte Hornets, who's 10% rostered. The LaMelo Ball, I think technically was an ankle injury. We know about the LaMelo Ball ankle injuries.
Cheap shoes injury? What?
Has another one. Yeah. They said he'd be reevaluated in a week. Who knows what that really means? Charlotte has 4 games this week, so even if Ball does come back, you have some insurance with Micic.
Even if he comes back, he's sure as heck ain't. Well, he's not. They already said a week, right? So it would be next week with best case for Ball, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, Brandon Miller's out for the year, so they already have minutes opened up. We just know who Micic is at this point. We know what he does: 12 points, 6 assists, 3 rebounds as a starter for 23 fantasy points. So fire him up. We know the drill here.
We know the drill. We know the drill. All right. And I'm going to stay in Charlotte and point out that same mess of injured players. For relatively new Hornet Josh Okogie, he went to Charlotte in the Nick Richards trade. Look, Charlotte's always banged up. Alex just explained some of it. We know LaMelo's out for at least a week. Cody Martin's been out with an abdominal issue. Mark Williams' foot is flaring up again. He's missed 2 games. And look, Okogie is a steals machine. Last 4 games, 2.8 steals a game, almost 13 points, 1.5 triples, and half a block over 26 minutes. I think he could be playing north of 26 minutes next week. Yeah, Charlotte has 4 games, as Alex pointed out. Okogie is rostered in only 16% of leagues. So Okogie, nice streaming option. And who knows? He could be a locked-in starter the way this Hornets season's going.
Okogie for his career, 1.8 steals, 0.8 blocks per 36 minutes. So you're right to point that out. If you need steals, look to him.
And usage-wise, a little less competition in Charlotte than Phoenix.
Yes. My next suggestion, and I will sort of be rounding this into something else with my next options, but Isaiah Collier, who we have mentioned before, 24% roster. This is the official "the British are coming" suggestion of the week. Okay, the trade deadline is this upcoming Thursday. The Jazz, Colin Sexton's in rumors, Jordan Clarkson's in rumors, and is old. Markkanen can't be traded, but like, what are they even? They don't even give John Collins. They don't even give Markkanen the ball anymore. All these guys are like, "Why are you here, man? Like, why?"
There's a moving van parked outside of his condo building.
Yeah, he shows up like that meme where it's like, "Hello, fellow kids," wearing the AC/DC shirt.
Steve Buscemi.
Yes, Buscemi. Past 2 weeks for Collier, 11 points, 8 assists, 4 rebounds, 1.1 steals. His efficiency is not going to be good, but he has been excellent passing the ball. Yeah, and Utah has 4 games this week. And
he's officially passed Keontae George on the depth chart as we've updated on RotoWire.com.
Yeah, Collier's interesting. Pick him up.
And you know what? Before we were like, yikes, his shooting is terrible, but he's actually been shooting okay from the field the last 3 or 4 games. I want to say over 50%.
I mean, past 13 games, essentially since he became like a starter, is 42%, which for him, 42% is amazing. So,
well, hold on. I got to look at this. Last 4, 56% from the field.
That will come crashing down eventually. But we have to give it credit where it's due, right?
Yeah. Dumpster fire. Collier could see crazy minutes. All right. Speaking of names we've mentioned in the past, I stole one from Alex here. But don't look, because it's ugly to watch. But Scoot Henderson is kind of actually playing good ball for the Portland Trailblazers. Scoot is only 20. Still has plenty of upside. He's rostered in 42% of the leagues. Last 10 games, he's actually shooting over 51% from the field with only 2.8 turnovers a game, over 30 minutes a game. For Scoot, that's awfully darn good. Those same 10 games, look, over 17.5 points, almost 6 dimes a game, almost 3 triples a game, 3.5 rebounds. There's 5 starts sprinkled in those 10 games. Portland's terrible. They should be playing Scoot. He's only 20 years old. See what you got there. No Jeremy Grant yet again last night. So he's going into his annual spring fade vacation. He's probably looking at condos in Cancun. So yeah, Scoot Henderson, what the heck? Take a flyer.
Can't really argue with you. I wish there was a more clear development path, usage, like anything for
plan.
Scoot.
Just a
plan. Because what plan is there when a guy, like, this is his 3-point attempts over the past 10 games? 10, 7, 5, 8, 5, 1, 1, 11, 2, 5? Yeah. That's not, how do you, like, he doesn't know when he's getting his shot. Like,
are we looking at a coaching change this offseason in Portland? Because, boy,
Billups is not. And Billups is in the zone where people don't even talk about him. He's so bad, they just ignore him, and he's a former player, so nobody wants to say anything. It's just like
exactly. Portland also have 4 games next week, so now is the time. Give Scoot a chance. Who do you have next? Are we in the long shot area? We are in the long shot area.
We're in the long shot area, and rather than one player, I have just trade deadline flyers. Like, stash these guys now. If you got a bench spot you're not going to be using this.
There's one here I really like, by the way, but go ahead. Yeah.
There are a lot of potential options depending on your league type, how deep your league is. I'm going to list some names. You tell me who you like out of this list, Ken. So in Chicago, you got Jalen Smith. If Vucevic is gone, Lonzo Ball's been solid. You don't even have to. That's not even necessarily a deadline stash. Lonzo's been good. Matas Buzelis in Chicago. In Portland, Klingon. Delano Banton. In Washington, the whole roster. Keyshawn George, Bob Carrington. We also saw some interesting stuff from Jared Butler and Justin Champagnie earlier. In Brooklyn, Day'Ron Sharpe's one of the best rebounders in the NBA. In Utah, Bryce Sensabaugh, Kyle Filipowski. That's just who I grabbed right off basically the top of my head.
And I want to say one of those Wizards, but frankly, all of those Wizards have had a shot before this. The two great, like they're begging for decent usage. I'm actually going to go with your Jalen Smith pick. I did pick him up in a league, taking a flyer. Again, blocks are very hard to find. Smith makes blocks and hits threes. The Bulls, obviously, if they deal Vucevic, Smith's their only center. We're not sure what they'll get back, but I think they got Smith signed for next year too. But yeah, just the wonderful combination of blocks and threes. We could see multiple. We should see. I'm not sure it'll happen. We should see multiple Bulls get dealt. That's a lot of shots if Vooch and Zach LaVine leave, and I could see it. We don't even need a ton to go to Jalen Smith. Just get me, 10 points, 11 boards, and 3 blocks, and you're ecstatic to have Jalen Smith on your roster.
Smith, for the second consecutive year, is a top 55 per minute fantasy player.
Yes.
Can he even play 30 minutes in a game? I'm not sure because it hasn't happened this year. But everything we said, everything Ken mentioned is certainly true. He can put up numbers that in limited minutes.
This is the crazy 36, which won't happen, but is crazy per 36. It'd be great to see him get 25 a game, but per 36, 19 points, 13 rebounds, and almost 2 blocks.
Give me. And 2.7 threes.
And 2.7 threes.
Yeah.
I buried the lead. Yeah. So, and you know what? If they don't make any deals, you dump them a week or two later. But Jalen Smith, the upside it'd be a Daniel Gafford-like upside almost.
Ooh. All right. I like it. Get the people excited. This is your new. Oh, we should have did that for the cover. Next Daniel Gafford ? It's just Jalen Smith with his sports specs on.
Peeking it.
Oh man! All right, give us your last suggestion, Kevin.
My long shot, Ty Jerome. We already covered him in the news segment. It's not even a long shot. I think to me, it's just a nice safety bench guy to have. Last 11 for Jerome, 15.5 points, 3 dimes, almost 2 triples, while shooting 49% from the field. Hey, Cleveland has only 3 games next week, so this isn't a move for next week. But Ty Jerome, quality bench guy, and you gotta believe the Cavs are going to start resting Garland and Mitchell some down the stretch.
The resting, I mean, the fact that he's been solid, that you can, if they're on a 4-game week, you're going to get at least 1 pop game out of him in those 4 games. Yeah. And if the resting starts, this is, I really like Jerome as a stash.
All right, well, Alex, tell us about our friends at Edge Boost.
Ken, have you ever had your debit card declined or had to call your bank at 3 a.m. in Vegas? Edge Boost is the first consumer-facing online bank dedicated to the gaming industry. There are numerous benefits.
I prefer to not answer that question.
The benefits to using Edge Boost are numerous. $250,000 per day in debit deposits with unlimited withdrawals, cash back on sports betting, DFS, and sweeps, 100% approval for all gaming activity, financial segmentation and discretion and responsible gaming, compatible today for prediction markets, iCasino, DFS, sports betting, lottery, brick and mortar casinos, horse racing, and sweeps. No transaction reviews or account freezes. Visit edgeboost.bet today and use promo code ROTOPOD. That's promo code ROTOPOD.
Edge Boost is like your drunk uncle who thinks he's wealthier than he is, just throwing cash at you. Like, Larry, pay the mortgage. Don't be giving me all that money. Come on, Uncle Larry.
Vasilije Micic over 6 assists? How much you need? Let's talk some DFS / Pick'Em. We'll just do some quick analysis on the games today. It is a 7-game Friday in the association. Highest over under 234. Milwaukee at San Antonio.
Yeah, no obvious points game tonight.
No. Have you? I don't know. Have you been tracking this San Antonio is bad now thing? They're 1-4 over their past 5.
Like they're ready to play bingo. I don't.
Barnes playing well has correlated extremely well with the Spurs going on their worst stretch of the season.
Yeah.
That is what I will say.
Yeah, they were Band-Aids, and those Band-Aids are falling off. You know, when you have a wound and it's all dirty and the Band-Aid's peeling, and you're like, this Band-Aid's doing more harm than good. It's dirty and gross, and now it's half falling off. That's Barnes. That's
Maybe
Harrison
they could
Barnes.
trade for De'Aaron Fox. I mean, maybe we'll send Barnes
I
back to
feel like that would be an
Sacramento.
improvement. I feel like that would be improvement. And honestly, I like Chris Paul coming off the bench, and
Sure.
guiding your bench crew. He and Keldon Johnson would be nice bench pieces, but yeah, they're still a few pieces away, sadly.
Yes, they
Not sure
are.
how that helps you in DFS tonight, though.
Well, it
Let's,
could if you think it's going to be a blowout, but who knows?
Well, normally Alex is peppering Shannon with questions. Shannon's on during our DFS segment, and I hide. I get ready for my old person rant, but I'm going to pepper Alex questions, and let's start with this Denver at Philly game, because it seems like there's some opportunities in this injury-riddled Sixer squad. Embiid is out. Paul George is out. Tyrese Maxey's been going off. Are you all in on the expensive price for Maxey, or do you like some of the other bargains?
This Philly team worries me because of you mentioned all those guys out. Potential blowout is always on the table for this Philly team, and they've had stretches where AD went down for the Lakers and Philly ended up winning that game. I mean, they've been able to figure a little bit more out lately, but they are 10-point underdogs essentially at home. I do think so that makes this, I think, a better opportunity when there's a big spread like this. I usually look more towards the younger bench players for both teams. I
Well, I was
know.
going to suggest Justin Edwards, right? Like, he's starting,
Yeah.
but they don't care. They're not going to worry about playing him too many minutes. And is he still bargain bin prices on DraftKings?
I think so.
Kind
Off
of
the top of
assume
my
so, but
head,
yeah.
I couldn't find. Well, I'm struggling on my end, but I will say Ricky Council's also in this mix, and
All
then
right.
yeah, for the Nuggets, they don't have a deep bench, so you could look at like maybe even Peyton Watson could get a few extra minutes here or there in this Denver game.
Porter hasn't been playing well lately. They should give Watson a few.
No, yeah.
All right. Well, speaking of injured teams, we've got both Emmanuel Quickley and Grady Dick as game time decisions for the Raptors hosting a defensively challenged Chicago squad. Who do you see any gems in the backcourt of Toronto?
Gems is maybe not. Well, I will say okay, here's what I'll point out. Bruce Brown. This is one of his final opportunities.
Showcase
Before he gets traded somewhere. They play him 10 minutes a game, realize he sucks, and then don't play him in the playoffs.
You want to get that second round pick, that deal for Brown.
Yes. And this matchup specifically, they're going up against Chicago. This should be an up and down game. Chicago doesn't really have any. They don't really have any available defenders. Period. But Lonzo and Dosunmu are decent. But I think I could see Barnes having huge games. I mean, who is guarding Scotty Barnes on Chicago tonight?
So maybe they put Patrick Williams back in the starting lineup just to guard Barnes. I mean, I want him on instead of Dosunmu on Barnes, right?
I mean, yes,
I
do.
50-pound difference.
but then you also risk scoring 90 points. That's the question.
His shooting. Celtics were begging Williams to shoot the other night. They were just like, "And here is your shot, Mr. Williams. Please take this quadrant of the floor to do whatever you'd like."
I can't remember the number. I looked up the other day how many 20-point games he had in his entire career. It's like 6 or something, or 8.
4th overall pick. Is Jabari Smith on the Patrick Williams path, by the way?
I don't think so. But because I think Jabari has shown some stuff from like the mid post and just seems more coordinated offensively than and he's bigger, so he could play some small ball 5. But that comp is like
it's getting
The
fact that anyone mentions it is still like, this is supposed to be Smith's breakout year. It ain't. And now the hand injury. All right. Well, we mentioned at the start of the segment, Milwaukee at San Antonio is the biggest over-under. Certainly the Spurs are having trouble giving Wemby help. But who knows what's going to happen at the trade deadline? But tonight, who do you like in this Bucks Spurs matchup?
Well, these teams played January 8th, and Wembanyama had one of his worst games of the year. 10 points, 10 rebounds, and only shot 10 times. I mean, he was just not involved. Giannis is about the worst matchup possible for him. Although,
Sprinkle a little Brook Lopez on the help out blocks too, or at least.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, last year, during when the Bucks and Spurs played, it was like high energy. It was like Wembanyama was out there, being a killer. And so it's hard for me to know what to expect here because the Spurs have been playing so bad. Wembanyama did not play well against Milwaukee. I'm a little hesitant to pick guys in this game. Now, I'm always comfortable picking Giannis because he goes 100% and will play 30 minutes a game. But this is another situation, even though the spread's only 3 points, that I would maybe look to like the Stephon Castles of the world for the Spurs and Sohan, maybe guys like that for value.
I was kind of tempted to pay up for Dame Lillard, knowing that Giannis is going to be a little preoccupied on the defensive end.
That's not a bad call. When they played earlier in the year, he had 26 and 8 and 13 shots. He was really efficient. So I'm cool with that. Yeah.
7 games, not going to go to all of them, but Clippers at Charlotte a dumpster fire, but could Micic be a cheap play tonight? I don't know where his,
sure.
Check his salary, I would think.
Why,
right?
Why not? Yeah. On FanDuel, it's 5,300. You can expect like something 20, 25 fantasy points out of him. So he's not cheap. I might actually pivot off of Micic because
you think
the over under
the shooting act together. He's not been shooting well, Mr. Smith.
Well, the concern here is that the Clippers their defense. They're the second best defense in the NBA this year, and Charlotte. This is a 13-point spread with an over under of 209. So there's a realistic chance that Charlotte scores about like 87 points here. And that's not an extreme outcome. It's almost being predicted. So I'm not sure I would.
No Hornets appeal to you.
Again, Okogie.
If Okogie's cheap. Yeah, if he's cheap. Yeah.
He could play 30 minutes just because this is a blowout early and then he racks up some steals or something. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, is that anyone else you want to point out for DFS?
No, I don't think so. I think I'm all set. Which means it is time for your old man rant.
Arg! 10-minute quarters. Are you kidding me, Adam Silver? You want me to see less of my favorite sport? What, this league isn't soft enough? Is there some veiled evil plan to get LeBron to play an extra season by shortening the games? I don't care how long college basketball games are. I don't care how long international games are. Real men in the NBA play 48 minutes a game. Don't ruin every record we have for NBA play. Silver, if you don't like 48 minutes a game, go home early. Ah!
Oh, it's funny. It's funny to talk about like college basketball in the context of the NBA because they're playing like 40-minute games with 35-second shot clocks, and some teams are playing at a pace of like 60.
Yeah.
Do these players even break a sweat? Like if
it would stink for fantasy too, because now your bench players are less relevant. It's just like, I like knowing who the bench players are. I want to see young guys get more minutes. 40. Oh, it's the whole thing it infuriates me.
I think, because for a couple weeks you were asking me and Shannon, you were like, I need a topic. I started to wonder, is Silver keeping track of this pod? And they're like, oh, last week's rant from Kreitz. Pretty weak.
Adam and I are pretty tight. We text each other.
He did a fart bit like 3 weeks ago.
Silver's I got to throw Kreitz a bone. I got to throw the K-Train a bone.
I got to go on Dan Patrick and just be like, I think we're going to do an international. I think we're going to have a division in Europe, change to 10-minute quarters.
I like Patrick's reaction. It looked like someone stabbed him in the eye. He was like, what?
Oh, man. I mean, yeah.
Garbage idea.
What I said on the, Nick and Jeff asked me this on Sirius XM. And to me, it's just like, it's not about the minutes. It's about the flow of the game. Like,
right.
I would prefer fewer timeouts. I'm not even totally opposed to the 1 free throw instead of 2 free throws thing. I went to a G League game where they were doing that, where you shoot the 1 and you either get 2 points or 0 points, unless it's 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and then you shoot the 2 for integrity.
That I could live with that a lot better.
And when you see it in person, you're like, oh my God, like this game is just flying, because guys are like, they're rubbing their hands on their jersey and they're walking around. It's like, they don't do that. So
one less timeout, I think, is a great idea too. Because man, boy, I am so tired of the crowd cam shots on, on League Pass. Like, oh, it's another timeout. Let's watch some kid dance. Oh, please. I had kids. That's done. Stop it. I still have kids. They're just adults. I didn't kill my children, by the
way. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on the RotoWire Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Thank you to Edge Boost. And remember, rotowire.com/pod for a free trial of our paywalled features, which include articles. It includes the RotoWire DFS Optimizer.
Lineup optimizer,
yes. And includes our paywall. It's not just NBA content.
Also,
MLB.
The new
NFL.
the new raging super popular Pick'Em tool for your and prize picks and underdog.
Pick'Em tool. We have the app also. Go onto the App Store, Android, Apple, whatever. RWPICKS, RotoWire everything. Just type RotoWire.
People don't subscribe. We're going to get fired. If you want Alex and I to have jobs, RotoWire needs to keep the subscriptions. They are doing very well, but we need them to do better.
Literally, whatever device you're on right now, actually, whatever device you own, turn them all on and just type RotoWire into the search bar and hit enter as many times.
RotoWire.com/pod. We need it tracked.
True.
Alex.
Yes.
RotoWire.com/pod.
All right, let's go to your quote, Ken, to really round this thing out.
Yeah, let's go to New York. We're visiting Denver Nuggets head coach Michael Malone said this about Adam Silver's atrocious idea of the NBA switching to 10-minute quarters. Quote, I hope we don't go to 10-minute quarters. I hope we don't put in a 4-point line. I hope we don't become Barnum and Bailey or do whatever we have to do to keep viewership, because there's a greatness and a history to this game and a purity to this game that I hope we can find in a way to stay true to, end quote. Thank you, Coach Malone. Attention, passengers. This 2-car fantasy train wreck has hit the end of the line.